Probably one of the most common things we do in a database is, not one of the most common things, but one common task we do in a database is to find duplicates and remove duplicates. Sometimes, depending on the circumstance, we may find duplicates and select out the duplicates, or select the most recent item instead of select all of the items. So as a case in point, really quickly, I'll give you an example of the first one in terms of just an overall idea. If you have grades and you have a database, you have a table or a query where you want to grab the most recent grade, because someone could take the same test and they could score better on that same test, you will want to grab the most recent test. Well, the test ID may be the same. It may be a duplicate as far as the test ID. The date won't be a duplicate, but the test ID would be a duplicate. And since you want to get the most recent test ID, the most recent test, you would order it by date, and then you would grab the most recent test. But there are, every company that has a database has different forms of duplicates that they may have in it. And some companies want none, some companies want to select out the duplicates. So today I'm going to go over one of the ways in which we can find duplicates and we can remove them, or we can select them out. And so really quickly, I'm going to create just a basic table here. And it's going to have 2 columns. I'm sorry, 3 columns. And we're going to go ahead and put in some duplicates. But for now, we're not going, not right this second, but one second. Okay, so you will see that 3 is going to be our duplicate. One second, trying to think here. Okay. Yeah, let's suppose we're going to be doing, I'll use chemicals. So potassium and sodium. Let's see here. Drawing a blank as far as ideas. Helium's been in the news a lot. Let's see. I always forget the chemical symbol of gold. Oh, we use it, but can't think of what that is off the top of my head. Let's just do helium, and this time we'll use potassium over here. And then this is going to be the duplicate. Okay. And by the way, as a case in point, energy data often will have duplicates in it. So okay, and so you can see, so if we were looking at this table, we would say, hey, we have 3 repeated twice, so we need to remove 3. Okay, so I'm going to show 2 different approaches, and we'll look at that. The first approach is going to be actually removing it. So first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a common table called dupe remove. And first thing I like to do is just do a select star from the table. I'm not going to do a select star. Okay, but that just sets up the common table expression. Alright, and then the next thing I'm going to do is we're going to, I do want to actually select star from the table, and in a sense I want to select everything from the table. But I also want to find out the row number of a duplicate item. Now, no, what in the world are you doing? Do it this way. And I'll explain this in a second. And you cannot use keywords for column names a lot of times. Okay, so I'm going to actually eliminate this just for a second. That way I can, I'll drop the table as I do the query again. I like to drop temp tables like this when I'm testing things out, so that way I can just hit F5 and it'll go over and over and over. Okay, so and that's why I like to do. Okay, well, I just don't know how to do that. Do it this way. Okay, so you can see with the common table expression, the result of this query is we have a row count column now. And you'll notice you'll see 1, 1, 1, and now we have 2, right? Because this is our duplicate. What this query does, we're selecting star, so all of this is in the table normally. That's the select star. The row number is over, we're partitioning by, we're breaking it down by each of these columns. What that means is, if there is a repeat value in these columns, like these 3 columns, there's a repeat value, that would be 2, it's going to break it down into each, basically row number, right? There's 2 row numbers with these values. So that's what it's going to partition by, and then of course we're ordering by ID column 1, column 2. Think about the example that I started out with, which was the grades. You're ordering by a date, right? So if you want to take out not the most recent, but the previous grade, you would order it by, for instance, with a test, you'd have a test ID and then a grade, right? You wouldn't have all these other columns. So let's say test ID, and let's suppose this was a 90, test ID, which is the most recent, and you'd have a 95, and there would be basically a get date field. Then you would order it by the get date field, and so that would determine the order of these rows. Now in this example, there is no order in terms of the date. I mean, these are the exact identical values, and in many cases that's exactly how you're going to be removing duplicates or finding duplicates, is when you have a exact value. Now the only way that we know how we have a duplicate value, essentially, other than seeing it, is we have this row count, right? Alright, so right off the bat, there's a couple things you can do here. we can select star from this duplicate remover, or actually we won't select star. Let's suppose we were doing a report. We can select the ID, we can select column 1, and we can select column 2, where row count equals 1. Oh yeah, that's right, because it's a keyword. This would be a lot faster. No. And you'll notice, of course, we've gotten rid of the row count intentionally. If we were reporting, we would only have 1 helium and potassium, one of those values. We've gotten rid of our duplicate. We haven't deleted it, we have selected it out, right? The other thing we can do, we've just selected out, and to prove that, we can sit there and add row C, and you can see that what we've done is we've selected all the ones, right? If we need to find the duplicate, we could sit there and we could say where it's equals 2. Or let's suppose there's multiple ones beyond a duplicate, right? We could actually say where it's greater than 1. If, let's say, we have 100, I remember there was one client I was working for, and they had like thousands of duplicates. And that's how I found it, was I just did greater than 1, and they all came up. Okay. The other way we can do this as well, we can delete from basic where row C hold on. Let's see here. One quick. Is it a delete from basic? No, actually, what am I thinking? I'm deleting it from this table. Remove where row C is greater than 1. And that will actually remove the duplicates. Now, the reason why I'm not a huge fan of removing duplicates is because if you have duplicates, more than likely that indicates that there's some process that you're getting the data that's flawed. It could be the flat files you're receiving are flawed, but then you need to have a staging process that catches it. There's some process of yours that's not working correctly. And so that's one of the reasons why I think that deleting duplicates a lot of times is kind of ineffective, because if that's the way you clean up duplicates, that you're not catching where the duplicates are coming in from. If you're using these type of processes to find duplicates, let's say on a staging table, that's effective, because again, and I've seen flat files that have duplicates, but other than that, I would never ever suggest removing duplicates that are in a main table if you're not trying to have duplicates. I would select them out for like reports, and I would try to identify why you're receiving duplicates. But either way, you can remove it. You can remove it, or you can select them out like that. This is, in my opinion, the most effective method for removing duplicates. But understand that there are numerous ways to get rid of duplicates, and there are numerous ways to select them out. There's like a left outer join method. I've seen people use inner joins with left joins. So there's numerous ways that you can actually get rid of duplicates, but I think that the common table expression is the most effective, because depending on what you are trying to do, if you are trying to select out, like let's say the most recent item, everything's a duplicate except by date, you could just remove one of these columns, depending on where your duplicate is in terms of the column. If it's just on the ID, then you would just put partition by ID, and then order by, for instance, if it was date that you need, in the test ID example, you would order by date. this allows you to do what you need to do. It is kind of funny that you can always tell a lot of about people, like in job interviews. I've had several job interviews where they ask this question, and it's one of the funnier ones. But you can tell how knowledgeable someone is in databases, because I had a job interview where a guy told me that the only way that you could get rid of a duplicate is to use either a cursor or a while loop. And that was the grade example. And I was like, no, you can use a common table expression, and I showed him how. But there are a lot of assumptions that you have to use, like this fancy cursor, or you have to use this fancy while loop, which is not very memory effective. And as you can see, a common table expression is a very simple way to do that. Plus, you don't have to do a lot of complicated joins. This is actually fairly basic.